Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
From the Fifth Quarter Studio in Madison, Wisconsin, you're listening to High School Hoops with your hosts, Steve Collins and Jake Stager.
We're so excited you decided to join us. Make sure you go over and leave those 5-star reviews. If you like this, go over and listen to our other podcasts like the 5-Minute Basketball Coaching Podcast or High School Hoops or Funnel Down Defense or Coaching Youth Hoops or whatever one of the 7 in our network that you would like to listen to. But before we jump in, I'd like to give a big shout out to our 2 sponsors. First of all, Dr. Dish, the #1 shooting machine on the market. They are always, what I love about Dr. Dish is they're always innovating. They're always making that a little bit better. And that's why I think they're the best machine out there. Like I've said before, we own 3 of them, and I would not be talking about them every day if I did not believe in them. Mention Coach Unplugged, they'll give you $450 off, and they'll give you A1 customer service. And then also what helps keep the lights on, what helps keep everything moving is teachhoops.com. It's for coaches who want to get better. It is a one-stop shop by a basketball coach for a basketball coach. I'm always working with my team 365 days a year, working on making us better. And I want to do the same thing for you. I'm giving you resources, one-on-one calls, office hours, a roadmap per se that will help you become a better coach. And we offer a 14-day free trial because I believe you should come in and kick the tires around and see if it's right for you. If it's not, that's fine. But I guarantee that you're going to love it. All right, let's head off to
Coach
Unplugged.
I got Coach Torbett here. So I'm super excited about this from a couple standpoints. Selfishly, I started running Read and React about 3 years ago. So I'm looking at my list. I think I have like 6 specific questions about Read and React, but we'll get to that. All right, so Coach, I'm going to have you kind of introduce yourself, kind of talk about your basketball journey, and kind of what got us to the point where we're sitting here talking today.
Right. My basketball journey began, let's see, I'll make this short and sweet.
All right.
There's not a lot there.
There's a lot.
Well, let's see, probably the pivotal point in my life was I was 6'1" as an 8th grader. Everybody thought I was going to be some big center,
Right. Yep.
I think I grew 1 more inch or another 1.5 inches, and I found out there were plenty of people that could play inside better than me. So between my freshman and sophomore year, I spent the whole summer just dedicated to shooting only, and that kind of changed the course of my life. I wound up being a pretty good shooter, good enough to go on and play at the next level. NAIA, played at Cleveland State Junior College, and I played at Bryan College.
But there's a very valuable lesson there, especially for the youth coaches, I think, in the sense that I believe everyone should be a guard until they're about 14 or 15.
Absolutely.
Don't you? I mean, we can get into the positionless thing, but it's like everybody that's listening to this, I bet can think about that kid that grew in elementary school and was the tallest kid on the playground and then just stopped. We all can probably name like 2 or 3 of those kind of kids.
And Steve, that is why I include that in the story. Right. It hindered me. the way I was pigeonholed early on through elementary and junior high, even as a freshman in high school, it's hard to overcome that, even if you're dedicated from there on. Just because in college I'm a two guard, and sometimes I'm a point.
Right.
And you're seriously
hindered, and it's like I've coached guys that have played in the NBA. I've coached bigs, and it's like, yes, I just keep telling them, you might have to rebound more than you're going to rebound to the next level, but it will help. If everyone can handle the ball, no one can press us, kind of things. But so then go ahead. So then I see you got into coaching. Yeah,
I stepped right out of college into a head high school boys job in public schools in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Chattanooga Central and Little Wall High School. And then I took a job in Atlanta at a private school, small private school. And then after a few years there, I went to Holy Innocents Episcopal School because they were starting a school from scratch, a high school from scratch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were kindergarten through 8, and I kind of thought, that'd be cool to start, from the beginning. And hey, I can't blame anybody but myself,
Right, yeah. You know what's coming, yes.
Yep. So I was there for my last 11 years, and when I say that there's not much there, what I mean is, I think. I had good years and I've had bad. I've had, never won a state championship, but made it to the Final Four a couple of times, and quite a few.
Somebody that's won it, it's lightning in a bottle. I'm convinced. It's like the kid that catches the firefly. Because my best team didn't win it. My best team had 3 Mr. Basketballs from Wisconsin, and we didn't win it that year, and then we won it the next year.
Wow.
Yes, I'm just it's not the best coaches, not the best team. It's about those 2 or 3 weeks where you just catch lightning. It's Hoosiers kind of thing. Yeah. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're exactly right. And I've been on the losing end. I've been on those where I had my worst season was a 4-23. Yeah. That'll make you question everything.
You become very humble at that point. Yes.
I'm telling you, man. And I coached my hiney off, and I tell you, I thought I should have got Coach of the Year because we shouldn't have won those 4.
Right. Oh, I tell people my best record, we were 12-10. My best coaching season in 30 years of coaching, we were 12-10 because we had no right winning 12 games. We had 0. So that's why I tell coaches, it's not. And I've told people this before. I think the problem with our profession is you're judged on quantitative values because I see you're a math teacher. You're judged on quantitative values, not qualitative values.
That's right.
And as a coach, it's to be honest with you, I coach and teach because it's the qualitative things. It's not I want to win as much as anybody, trust me, but it's teaching young men or young women to become better people and life lessons and all that kind of stuff.
And that is the problem with coaching is that you've got you're judging success qualitatively, and people that might be controlling your job,
right,
and your livelihood are judging it quantitatively.
Right.
They don't. There's a lot of things they don't take into factors. Because I tell you, when I say I made it to the Final Four, that's hilarious. Because I've never made a shot. I never defended.
Right.
You are right. Some really good players. And I remember the first trip to the Final Four, the night we won a lead 8 to go to the Final Four. You get all the backslapping and all that, right?
Yeah.
And one guy, friend of mine, said, just kind of as he's passing by, he says, and now you're a genius.
Yeah. Yeah, you know everything. You know everything.
Right.
Yes.
It's tongue in cheek because, man, you just.
Okay, so all right, so you're still coaching there right now?
No.
Okay.
Excuse me. So there was a 2 or 3 year overlap in the early 2000s where a former assistant of mine wanted to start an internet company, sell DVDs, and
right.
And I told him I would help and help him if he ever needed it. And he asked me for help.
Right.
And he said, I want you to do the basketball instructions. And I said, man, you're going to get like 3 sales, my mom, my dad, my sister.
Right.
Who am I,
Right.
And he said, well, he'd been with me for a while, and he said, I've seen you teach. And he said, if I can get people to view the material, I think your ability to break it down will bring them back. So, hey, why not, right? So I gave it a shot. And we started with shooting, ball handling, post play, one-on-one, just player development stuff.
Right.
And this is in the this is in the early 2000s. And then we got a few guests on our DVDs. Back then it was all DVDs.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was talking to Brendan yesterday. It was hilarious because it's like him and I were laughing about, I remember when I had 2 VHS tapes and 2 recorders and play, record, to break tape down. It's like, these guys don't know how good. I mean, now it goes up to crossover or huddle and it breaks it down. It's like, shoot, I'm still surprised I'm married, to be honest with you. All the time I spent breaking tape down, but
it was so time intensive. It was unreal.
Yeah.
And in one of my stories talking about later as we get into Read and React, one year, I think it was 96, at the end of the season, I decided, hey, I'm going back and I'm statting all of my games myself. I wanted to see where all our points were coming from, try to categorize everything. Didn't want to depend on stats that, some
right. Yep.
in the bleachers, kept up with and missed while he was eating popcorn. So folks, I don't think they appreciate what it took to go back and take a DVD. VHS
tape. Right.
In that time. VHS, fast forward, rewind, pause, write down,
Right. And there's more than what they don't understand is there's more than one thing going on when you're watching on a thing. It's like there's a rebound, there's an assist, there's a turnover, it's like yeah. There's no iPad to hit a button and just
right. Right. Yeah. Oh, something like a huddle or crossover, that would have just been
awesome. I tell people it saved my life. It saved my marriage, saved my life. I'm not in the basement anymore breaking film down. Okay, so you started that. We'll get to the Read React thing at the end because like I said, I do have a lot of questions.
Okay.
But so then that's obviously went from DVDs to.
Yeah, well, we started, like I said, player development stuff. That's what I cut my teeth on. My first one was on shooting, naturally.
Right.
And most of this, Steve, came from. I had coaching insights and that type of thing, but. Most of it came from my experience in personal training, while I was coaching. And that's where, if you're going to make a business out of that, you've got to actually, you can't just, you might start doing it off of the cuff, but eventually you got to, what's the word, codify?
You got to quantify it, and it's time for money too. It's like it's time for money too. And if you're not going to be able to book all that time if you don't have, your lesson plans right. Yeah,
and I had to go like step by step. I had to start writing things down and, hey, what works, what doesn't, and developing a player. And so that's what I was putting on the DVD. And we happened to start getting a few NBA and WNBA guests on the DVDs,
Okay.
Mike Bibby was the first one.
I do. I remember that one. That one.
And then we got,
didn't you have some young kid too, I think?
Oh, that was our ball handling.
Yeah.
Our ball handling, Andy Garcia. And by the way, he's just phenomenal with a basketball right now. He's in his mid-20s, I guess, and he's still in Laredo, Texas, and he's training. He's never stopped training other kids.
Really?
Wow. He's got a training business.
Okay.
And he's just magic with a ball. But,
I remember him.
The thing is, the great story behind that is I had one DVD out shooting, Now I'm still coaching at the time. And in the summer, I have this guy from Laredo. It was Andy's dad, Andy Garcia, and
Right.
hey, could I convince you to come out here and train my son for a few days, maybe a week? And, well, if the price is right, I will, right? So
Right.
this is kind of neat. I get to cross the Mississippi River and
Right. Yeah.
go to a place in
Right.
Texas. And this is kind of neat.
Yep.
And kid just was a workout king. I mean, the kid could work all day on his game. But when I saw him handle the ball, I said, I immediately got on the phone, called my buddy, and said, "Hey, I know what DVD number 2 is."
Yes.
7th grade, and he's just unbelievable with the ball.
Right. Yeah. Our Mr. Basketball this year, Jordan McCabe, who's going to Cincy, has been doing that since he was a little kid, and he's the same way. It's like, it's like magic what they do with the ball.
Yeah.
So then it expanded from that stuff.
Yeah. I wound up with in 2000. By 2008, I think we had 7 or 8 player development DVDs, and that doesn't sound like much of the time, but when you do, at that time, we were doing things like the one-on-one video was 3.5 hours,
right?
Because it wasn't just me on one-on-one. I also had Chauncey Billups. I had Rick Barry on it. I had Sue Bird. Folks like that on.
And it was a different era too. You weren't shooting it on your phone. The editing was iMovie wasn't. I'm just saying, people think now it's like, oh, I can just shoot a video and edit. It was a different world back then, editing wise too, and all that stuff, and technology and taping and cameras and.
Yeah, you had to send your DVD off to be mastered and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. But during that, so the transition is. Back in 03 and 04, in that same place, Andy Garcia in Laredo, Texas, had put together a camp where he had recruited 15, just handpicked players from everywhere, a couple of European pros, about 5 or 6 college players, and the remaining 10 or 8 or 9 were high school, but they were from everywhere. I had a kid from Greece and Michigan and just from all over. And they all came with a pedigree. You know what I mean? Like they were the
best of the best.
It was a 4-week camp.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, by the way, Steve, never do this, okay?
I've gone to the PGC camp. I've gone to Mono's camp to watch, and I'm tired after 4 days, and I'm just watching.
We were so ambitious. I did so we lived in the same motel, hotel.
Right.
And our schedule was from 9 to 6, 5 days, and then half a day on Saturday.
Yeah.
And the kids went at night. They went to the local workout gym, physical gym, to do to be trained in weights and speed, agility, quickness, and
that's crazy.
First of all,
youth is wasted on the young. I'm telling you, I used to do that stuff. I go from camp, I jump in my car, I go to the next camp, I jump in my car, I go to the next camp. It just makes me tired thinking about it.
Oh yeah, but poor kids, man. About middle of 3rd week, they got 1 gear.
Right.
I mean, they're just about toast. But we did all. You do all the player development stuff, and then you come back from lunch. We had to take like a 2-hour for lunch.
Right.
We had to, and for them to recover, and then we'd come back for another 4 hours, and we always finished it with clock and referees and games. And he had the owner of the camp had scheduled. I'll give you an example. He had scheduled the 2nd-tier Olympic team. Mexico's Olympic team to come across the border and play us.
Wow.
So I'm going like, okay, what am I going to teach these guys? Flex?
Right. Right.
These are all every one of them's like a gunslinger. Like, hey,
they're all the best players on their team. Yeah, they're all the best players on their team.
That's right. And so I'm thinking, what am I going to – and that's where the Read and React was birthed then, and the what I saw there just made me a believer. Let's just put it that way.
Right. And so just from a historical standpoint, so that's when you came up with the idea.
Yeah.
When did we get to the point where you felt confident that you actually had something that was, I mean, because like anything, there's the first light bulb and then there's the last light bulb.
Yes. I didn't even have a name for it in 2003.
Right. Okay.
And see, I was going back to coach at that time.
Right. Yeah. You're just trying to keep the ship moving. Yeah.
Here's what's so weird is it was at that time that the company Better Basketball just took off.
Okay.
I mean, woo, took off. My partner said, look, we got to either fish or cut bait, because you've either got to go full time if we're going to make a go at this, or he can't do it by himself. And so I said, man, I put together this system that, I'm absolutely convinced. Well, anyway, so I was not able to take it back to my team. So the next summer we had the same camp, whole different group of kids. And I said, okay, I got to test this again. All right.
Right.
Maybe it was a function of the kids, right?
Right. Yeah. You don't know. You're experimenting. Yeah.
Right. So this time I went in, I didn't have to discover it.
Right.
I went in from the beginning, right? And it's like, holy cow. So as soon as that 4 weeks was up, I called every friend that on every level of basketball still coaching and said, look, I got something. Don't even have a name for it. But and I can try and describe it, but if you want it, I'll show it to you, but I'm pretty sure it's a game changer, Right. I think it'll give you an edge, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Well, Steve, just think about you. Who would you call? Look, the people I called trusted me I'm not even coaching at the time, right?
Right.
And so I had high school, middle school, girls, boys, veteran coaches,
Right. You wanted to send it out to the world to see what happens too. It's like it's your first model. You got to send it out and see if the light bulb works or not too.
And so first I gave it to them in notes. Guess what? They couldn't do it.
No.
Every time it was like, Rick, you're going to have to come and show us. I'd work with them through the summer or come work with them during their season. And that's when it dawned on me, okay, if I'm going to transfer this, I can't do it with notes and that type of thing.
Right.
With drawings, with diagrams. I'm going to have to put this on like a DVD or that type of thing. And so it was really – so for 4 years, Steve, those coaches convinced me to put it out, to get it to public.
Right.
And one of them, he's retired now, Buster Brown. He had about the best girls record in high school in state of Georgia, all classifications during the 90s, won a state championship. And he said, Rick, I don't want you to, because I've got an edge now. This is
right.
But let's face it, he said, you've got something that the community needs to see. They need to get a hold of this.
Right.
And of course, the feedback that I was getting from these coaches was opening up, was just making me see other things.
Right.
Okay?
So that's the thing is you got to put it out there to see. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And, you don't see it all at one time.
Right.
You don't. I mean, I'm not smart enough.
You can't. You can't see the trees through the forest sometimes. You're so. I mean, I've started small businesses too. You're so like this. You're so narrow. People are listening, aren't seeing this. I'm putting my hands over my eyes. You're so narrow-minded because you see one thing, but there's 6 other things going on that you just can't see. Yeah.
Right. And something. This coach would teach it this way, and this coach would teach it that way, and another coach would call me and say, something. I found if I taught this first, then this became easier. I was just getting all that kind of feedback, And I thought, all right, listen, I had another friend that said, if you try to wait until it's perfect, you'll never ship it.
Yes. Yeah. Because nothing's ever perfect. Yes.
That's right. He said, hey, ship it, get it out there. And I really am not trying to be this is not a case of false humility. I really sincerely believe And I still do. There are coaches that are just so much smarter than me on so many levels. If I could just get it out there and get it in their hands, they would see things that I didn't see.
Right.
And maybe we could all stand on each other's shoulders and kind of change the paradigm. This was kind of my vision.
Right.
This is kind of what motivates me. Motivated me then, motivates me now is the vision of, something, I may be able to impact the game for kids and coaches in a very positive way. Maybe make the game. I had just heard Kevin Eastman say in a clinic at Coaching U Live, okay, right in the middle of his time in the clinic, he stopped. Usually he's on the move while he's talking.
Right.
You know how he does.
Yeah.
And he just stopped and kind of, did this looking off into the wild blue yonder, and he said, look, let me tell you where the game is going. The game is headed where there are no positions. You're not going to see 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s. You're going to see five players that can just play basketball. They're going to be multi-purpose, they can play in all positions.
Right.
And he said, now, I don't know how we're going to get there, but we're headed that way. Get ready.
Right.
And then he went on with the rest of his clinic. Of course, I'm in the stands about to blow a gasket going, I think I've got
Right.
I've got the method to move the game to a positionless game. And by the way, now Steve, why I started that story the way I did.
Right. Yeah. I mean, has it really – see, people ask me about my record and all this kind of stuff, and I don't really think about that stuff on a day-to-day basis. Have you literally sat and thought that you've changed this game? Because you have. And I'm not throwing this around. I mean, 100 years from now, it's like the flex. It's like the triangle. People are going to – in the dribble drive, people are going to talk about read and react. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I have. But it does –
it's mind-boggling. Yeah,
it is mind-boggling. Yeah, it has taken a life of its own.
Right. Yeah.
And some of the funnest, one of the most fun things about this is this movement is reading the stories of the coaches out there.
Right.
They'll email me their stories and tell me what to do, and most of it, Coach. Now look, it's really easy for me to tell you the quantitative ones.
Right.
But qualitative ones are so much fun.
Oh, yeah. We make fun of you all the time, Rick. I'm telling you.
Right.
That's layer 47. Layer 47. I mean, my assistant coach can do – Nate's going to be listening to this. He can do a much better Rick than I can do. But it's like, we just –
I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
But it's like – it is over the number of layers is overwhelming at times. Like we have narrowed it to like 6 that we feel like we can really do well. And then we add things to that. It's like adding potatoes to the soup or carrots or something. But we've narrowed it to about 6 that we think we can be pretty good at.
Well, that came from, again, this is 6 or 7 years before I ever started experimenting with the read and react. 2 things happened. There was a couple of things going on that kind of ingredients that went into the soup,
Right, yes.
And one of them was we lost a game. We ended our season by not getting to the state tournament on a last-second shot with the best player I ever coached. Best player. He averaged 28 points a game, shot 53% from the three-point line, and signed with Florida State. And the only kid in the school history to play in the Georgia All-Star game. And I'm thinking, I can't get to the state tournament with this kid.
Right.
I must be an idiot. Well, so my assistant and I, Dan Knudsen, we were having our last supper, so to speak. Pun intended there.
Right.
And I said, all right, Dan, go ahead. Tell me what I did wrong, And he said, I really just got one question. In the last 2 minutes of the game, when it was just back and forth and, people were fouling out and this and we're trapping and nobody can run any of this stuff, did we have the best 5 basketball players on the floor? And I said, well, now, Dan, we had our best 1, our best 2, our best 3, our best 4, our best 5. He said, nah, that's not what I asked. Did we have our best 5 best? And I said, Danny, if I did that, we can't run our system. And here it came. He said, maybe there's something wrong with the system that doesn't allow you to put the best 5 players on the floor.
Light bulb. Yep.
Boom. Yeah. And now he went on with other questions, but for me, it was like a thorn that got in my brain. And I remember thinking, where did I get this? Why do we have to have point guards and 5s and posts? And where do we even get this language from? Or what,
Right.
It just started making me question everything. Am I kind of blinded by tradition,
Right.
Why can't we do that? Hey, when you go to play pickup, do you say, well, I'm picking you because we need a 3, a slasher?
Right.
No,
I know. And the thing is, and I've ever since we started doing it, I've been trying to think about where it started. Was it the Patino Kentucky teams? Was it Magic? Was it Michael Jordan? I mean, because he had Cartwright, so he had a 5. I'm just trying to think of where the shift kind of happened, because usually it happens at the NBA and collegiate level before it gets down to us.
Right.
And I'm just trying. I really haven't been able to narrow when that. Because if you look at Villanova, you look at the teams that were in the NCAA this year, it's like there's obviously some big boys out there that are probably quote unquote 5s, but they can all shoot, they can all handle the ball,
they can all pretty much play anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
What I loved about watching them is I'm telling you, they did some really good stuff. If you did not know the read and react the way you and I do, Steve,
right,
you might watch Villanova and go, hey, I think they're running that read and react thing.
Right. Oh, yeah. And you got to be able to shoot the ball, though, too.
That made shot covers a multitude of sins, doesn't it?
It does. And I tell my kids all the time, anybody can become a shooter. Not everybody can become a scorer, but shooting is just repetition. It's like lifting weights. You just got to get in and do it, All right, so we'll do this out of order. So I'm going to ask you my read and react question.
All right.
And then we'll go back. All right. So off-season recommendations. Do you have off-season recommendations for people that run read and react? Things that you can do.
Well, you just named it. I mean, yes, because as you know from experience, the read and react will create shots for you all over the floor. Yeah, layups, inside, 3-pointers, 2-pointers, you name the type of shot.
Right.
And getting good shots, good quality shots is not the problem. It's that ability to put the ball in the hole.
Right.
That's what.
Do you have a shot clock in Georgia?
No.
So we don't either. So there's times that we'll come down and it takes us 45 seconds to get one, which is crazy. And that might go into the second thing. How do I promote variety in decision making? Because my guys seem to do the same thing every time. They'll pass, they'll go screen. I mean, they tend to do the same thing every time. How do you get them to not be like robots, not running the flex offense?
Right. Well, and that's what you're trying to overcome, right?
Right.
For your listeners who are not as familiar as you and I are,
right?
There are 2 decision makers. There's more than that at one time, but 2 primary decision makers. One, and by the way, when I explain this explains the difference between the read and react and a pure motion offense. Even though read and react, you get all the benefits of motion. You create an athletic ball.
Yep.
You move players. You got spacing, and boom, good things happen. You break the defense down, and you train. This boils down to training players how to take advantage of breakdowns on defense. But the difference is in read and react, the ball handler is the decision maker. Everyone else, as you know, must hold their spots, watch you, see what you do, and then they react with the one thing that we've all drilled them to do based on what's being done with the ball. If you drive right, they do something. If you drive left, they do something. If you blah, 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 okay? And that way you don't have 5 chiefs out there, right? You've got one chief.
Yep.
And then And then, so that's one I want to discuss with you. The other one is if a player gives up the ball, if they pass anywhere, an
easy one would be somebody brings the ball up and they pass it to the wing.
Yep.
Right.
And
okay.
Cut, right?
Yep.
Now,
yep.
In read and react, again, the difference between a motion offense and read and react is that player must cut to the basket.
Right.
Okay. Not just cut anywhere, but to the basket, because they are our first scoring option. Okay. We're going to put pressure on the rim, but the moment that player's feet hit the lane, we allow them to become an independent decision maker. That's when we give them decisions back.
Hey, Coach, I hope you're enjoying the podcast as much as I am. Please go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. 14-day free trial, one-on-one calls, office hours. I just came back from a clinic. We have all sorts of new stuff that's going to be going up. We have youth clinics. We just filmed an hour worth of youth defense. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do some on-drill stuff with that. We just came back from Atlanta and did a whole 10 hours worth of some of the Hall of Fame coaches from the Atlanta, Georgia area. So go over and check it out. Prices are going to be increasing soon. So if you're thinking of getting in, get in now. Prices are going to be increasing sometime in October, 15 to 20%. So I hope you're enjoying this. Back to the podcast.
At the point of the pass, no, they've got to cut.
Right.
But as soon as their feet hit that lane, if they've not gotten the ball, they can do a number of things. You name it, and of course we've got a layer for it.
We do.
But really, it's just all of the things that you could do in basketball without the ball if you were in the lane.
Right. Yep.
I could post up. I could screen for another post player and then get myself open. I could go back screen anybody on the perimeter. I could set a pin screen. I could use a pin screen. I could set or use a brush screen if another cutter's coming through. I mean, this just goes on and on and on and on, right?
Right.
Now, so back to for the listeners listening, there's one decision maker with the ball that trumps everybody. But there's at least one other decision maker making decisions that could affect the next action, and it's that player who is either stopped and posted up in the lane or is cutting through the lane.
Right.
Okay. So now to your question, Steve.
Right.
Decision making. Okay. So first we got to talk about which one we're talking about: ball handler or the one cutting through the lane.
Well, I think after they get rid of the ball, they tend to do the same. They cut, but then they tend to do the same thing. They'll either screen away or they'll they get very, when I've charted it, they get very robotic. And the kid that posts up is the kid that posts up. He's not the kid that sets the back screen, or he's not the kid that brushes it. I mean, how do you break them of that habit?
Okay. Great question. Great coaching question too. But I'm going to give you an analogy from jiu-jitsu. It's a wrestling type of submission sport that my instructor would teach one particular move. Okay.
Yep.
And of course, there's a counter move to that your opponent's got to do, right?
Right.
So you teach it, and then you set up the drill, and you do it, right? Well, immediately your mind goes to what ifs. Well, can I do this too? And then, but what if he does this? Can I do this? Very well. The instructor would never let us go on. Okay.
Okay.
Now there's a few really gifted people.
LeBron James is one of them. Yes.
That could go, I can see all of the options here and choose the correct one based on my opponent. But for the rest of us mere mortals, my instructor would say, no, I want you to do this one, this particular move, or this particular counter to that move, over and over and over and over and over and over. And then once we could do it without thinking, then he went to the next one and said, okay, here's your next one, because that one's going to get stopped. Okay. So here's your next, and I want you to stay here and drill and drill and drill and drill. And of course I resisted and stuff, but over time, all of the options became habit based
Right.
on how my opponent is playing me. Right? Well, analogously, I think you must give, and you could give all the cutters the same one, or you could customize it. Joe, when your feet hit the lane, I always want you to do blank. Okay?
Ooh, I like that. Like I have a kid. Like every time you go in, you should post up. No, every time you go in, you should look for a layup or scream away. Okay, I like that.
Bill, since you are the best three-point shooter, I always want you hitting the lane and then back screening someone one pass away from the ball.
Right, because then you're ready for your three.
Yeah, you're going to shape up to shoot, right?
Right.
It doesn't take Bill long to learn that one.
Yeah.
He's a shooter.
There has to be a benefit, though, sometimes, too. I have to show them that. It's like, if you set this screen, then you are going to be open, too. It's the, egocentric kind of.
What you just said might be the most important part of teaching the read and react.
Right.
I'm lying. What you just said may be the most important is how do you sell it?
Right.
You got to sell it to the kids like, look, hey, here's why you're not doing Bill's decision, Joe, because this is how we're going to take advantage of your strengths right now and hide your weaknesses. You're going to help our team by blank. You know?
Right.
Now, later on, Joe, we're going to add to this.
Right.
We're going to start developing. But for right now, I don't want you making.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
6 different decisions in there.
Right.
I want you to always set a pin screen. I want you to always stop and post up in the short corner. You name it, right?
Right.
Now, once they get good at that, now I'm talking about the individuals.
Right.
Once they get that, then based on their strengths and weaknesses, you go on and you add another one. But hey, let me give you a great example of this, okay?
Okay.
This was about 4 or 5 years ago. Delphi University, Division II up in New York, I think.
Yep.
They had a point guard come in. Her name was Ando Tron. I think she's coaching now, or she might still be playing over in Europe. She came in. Hey, Steve, this is the consummate point guard you want. Listen to this. I mean, she'd already watched, studied, knew the language of the entire read and react before stepping on the floor at a Delphi.
Right.
I mean, this is the coach's dream.
Right.
Okay. He's coaching the other girls, telling them what reactions they should be. I mean, it's like having a coach on the floor. Okay.
Right.
She's their best 3-point shooter, and she can get to the rim. Now, she's the smallest player on the floor, but she can get to the rim. She's fast. She's a good ball handler, goes right or left, best 3-point shooter. All right. The first 4 or 5 games was disastrous for her. So the coach called me and said, hey, could you do like a Skype with her, a little one-on-one, and just find out what's going on in her brain, So I did, and I asked her, and she, because I'd watched the games, and I said, well, what seems to be your problem? And she said, look, when I hit the lane, and she started going through all the different things that she could do, and she was ticked that her teammates were not responding to this.
Right.
Each one of these,
Yep.
Yes, my post is at the high post, coach. So when I cut to the basket, if I don't get it, then I turn and I make the Utah screen, and then I'm looking to shape up. I mean, she's going into stuff like that, right?
Right.
And her center doesn't know what the Utah is. You know what I mean?
Yes. It's simplifying the layers. Yes.
Yes. So she was just paralyzed by all the things, and why aren't they? And I said, okay. And listen, I'd love to tell you that was brilliant here, but this was a shot in the dark, and it worked. And I said, hey, let's try this, and then we'll get back together later. And I said, let's simplify things. I said, you're the smallest on the floor, right? She said, yeah. I said, well, I'll tell you what. When you hit the lane, I only want you to do one of 2 things. One of 2, just 2 decisions. on the first one, go set a screen for your post wherever she's at. Now, they played their post everywhere.
Right.
High post, four corner, mid post, weak side, strong. I said, because they will not want to switch that, right?
Right. Yep.
Big, little with you, they will not
want to switch that.
And I didn't have to tell her to play off of that. After she sets the screen, she's going to take her next best action is going to be good, okay? And then I said, now, you're also the best three-point shooter, right? And she said, yes. Right. She knew. Yes, I am. And I said, then if you don't set a screen for your post, then go set a back screen for one of your teammates that are one spot away from the ball and shape up for the three. Okay. Steve, I never had to call back. We never had another call. That totally –
because it's simplified.
Yes. And now she was decisive and aggressive and intentional with her actions in there. Yeah, she went on to do some others, but just getting her started down a simple, for her, 2 decisions. Well, I think you can do that. I know you can do that with every one of your players. Give them one, start with one.
Right.
And by the way, someone watching your team.
They won't know.
No, they won't. Only you know what their decision is when they hit the lane,
Right. And then you build on it. Then you build on the layers because then it's like, okay, your season starts in November and ends in March. By December, you're maybe adding a second move. And then and then you give them 2 or 3 weeks doing that. And then you add another one. It's perfect teaching things. I agree. I never had thought about that, though. And
some kids, their cup's bigger than others.
Yes.
So you can put more in it.
Right.
This is why I can't put that. I'm just not good enough to put that on DVD,
Right.
You follow me?
Yeah, it's like, well, I teach. I'm a math teacher, like you're a math teacher. I saw. And anyway, it's like I tell them the first week of school, I say, John here might spend 5 minutes on the homework, and Susie might spend 43 minutes on the homework. You can all do it. It's just, some of you have strengths in some classes and others, and that's where building on. I think that's perfect. All right, what would your ideal shot chart look for the Read and React? If I gave you a shot chart, what would it look like?
All inside the restricted arc.
You think so? Could that happen?
Well, no, it can't. Of course, it can't. But I'm basing that on the shot charts. If you look them up, online and stuff, you look at the numbers. The highest, the most points per shot you'll get are shots that are inside the restricted area.
Yep.
Because they also lead to free throws.
Yep.
Okay, so it's not just the 2 that you're getting. You're getting a foul there as well. The next highest is the corner 3-point shot.
I know, that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? So counterintuitive. I know.
The stats teacher in me just thinks that's. I just can't. I know. Numbers don't lie. I know.
Once I start watching, it's just unbelievable. You will go back and watch the NCAA tournament and just watch the corner threes. It's unreal.
So defensively, you should have a counter to that. I'm just thinking the other side of the court for the people listening is you got to take away that corner 3.
You got to run. Hey, forget closeouts. You got to run people off of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to change their shot.
That or they got to be in the second row of the bleachers.
That's right. That's right. The next highest is any other 3.
Right.
The next highest, well, now we're getting to the lowest, is the mid-range jumper.
Which is lost. The game has lost it.
And this is going to surprise a lot of listeners, okay? But the lowest percentage shot is in the lane outside the restricted area. In the lane.
Outside that charge. But people don't know it's the charged semicircle. Yeah.
Outside.
Wow.
Yes. Now, the highest is inside.
Right. Because it's a layup, basically.
It's a layup. Yeah, it's right. It's that third grade. We call it like a third grader can make.
I always tell my boys the easiest shot in basketball is the free throw. And they look at me and they go, "What do you mean? It's not easier in a layup?" I go, "Yes, it is, because it doesn't change. Layups change because you have defenders there.
You could shoot in a free throw in Wyoming is the same as a free throw in Maine. They are the exact same distance. The rim is the exact same height. Nothing's changing.
But man, layups. Is it off of 1 foot? Is it off of 2 feet? Where is my defender? What angle do I have on that?
Yeah.
Is there a help defender near me? Am I leaving the ground from the same spot?
Right.
I mean, there's variables there.
There's a lot of variables. Okay, so last one on Read and React, then we'll get to a couple other ones I have. What cuts or actions do you think will give your team the most open looks? And my assistant sent me this one, and he said, "Don't take it depends." As the answer. So, okay. John, if you're listening, that's for you. Wow. It says, what cuts or actions do you think will give your team the most open looks in the Read and React?
Now, he said actions.
Like a cut or a back screen or those kind of things, actions.
Okay, so he's not saying one action. Okay.
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. I don't think I can answer that.
No, but he says the ones you think are the best for getting good looks.
All right. Okay. I think it is.
And it's probably not the initial cut to the paint because we have not had as much luck with that.
Sure. And by the way, would you remind me? Would you ask me about just cutting to the line in a minute? Yeah.
Yep.
I want to tell you something about that.
Okay. So the actions you think that will get the most open looks in the Read and React.
Yes. All right. The first two, and you know something, as soon as this podcast is over, I'll think of something. I'll come up with something else.
All right, everybody, I hope you're enjoying this. If you are, maybe go over and check out Coach Collins' other podcasts, Teacher's Side Gig and High School Hoops. Subscribe, leave a 5-star review, maybe. And then also you can go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. All right, have a great day. All right, you can send it to me. I'll put it in the show notes for the people that are listening. All right.
But here's how I'm trying to answer this. Okay. For the most teams on the most levels.
Right.
Okay? Because as soon as you start, that's why he doesn't.
And I would say most of the people listening to this are youth coaches and our high school coaches.
Okay.
So we're dealing with kids that are 10 to 12 to 18. I mean, there's other people that listen all over the world, but I mean, I would think that's the demographic that's listening to.
All right. We're talking percentages here. Okay. Yeah. The two actions. I'm going to say two. There's two. And it's and one of these, well, both of these have varieties in them, but it's drafting.
Okay.
Drafting is, okay, so a team, let me give you a couple of examples. Steve, you pass the ball to me and you cut. You are on my right.
Okay.
And you pass the ball to me and cut. If I catch it and immediately drive right, as if I'm trying to follow you to the goal,
okay,
like two race cars drafting each other, that's where we get to the draft. I'm drafting you.
Yep.
The reason that gives more good opportunities is twofold here. One, you're taking away on your cut. And this is why, Steve, I don't care if you ever score on a pass and cut. I really don't.
Does it happen a lot? Because we have not been successful with that cut. That initial.
And that's why I want to talk about it here in a second. There's multiple reasons for cutting and scoring is just one of them. You can't depend on that. No.
Right.
But see, if you are cutting after passing to me, and you're cutting as trying to get the ball back, legitimately trying to get the ball back, your defender's going with you and is guarding you all the way to the rim. Yes?
Yes.
Well, you just took the first natural helping defender to my right with you.
Okay.
There is no help defense on my drive going right now.
I agree.
In fact, the only help would be, let me draw a picture in everybody's mind. Let me back up. I'm at the top of the key.
Okay.
You're facing the goal. You're on my right.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So when you pass, you're passing uphill to me.
Yep.
And you're cutting, and I'm driving right. Now, if no one else is in the right corner,
Right.
when I draft you, there's no help defense.
Right.
Because you've taken the only one that could help.
Could do it. Yeah. And it's got to be a cut that you want to score on.
Yeah.
Are my players listening to that? You got to want to score on that cut.
Yeah, it's not false offense. You might be open if you cut really hard.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay, now let's rewind that. If there was a player, a teammate in the right corner, and you passed to me, cut, and then I drove right, I'm beating the next helping defender. And even at high levels, you and I know who's supposed to rotate in there and help.
Right.
But you know they don't get there.
They don't.
9 times out of 10. Now, let me back this up. I'm drawing a picture if you're drawing this out, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's back up again. You've got the ball on the wing. You throw uphill to me. You cut. Now, the moment your feet start moving, Steve, doesn't the guy in the corner, isn't he supposed to start filling up your spot?
He's supposed to rise up. Yep.
He's supposed to start. So he's starting to fill up as I'm starting to drive. Yes?
Right. Yes.
Now, we know from the redirect that if I drive right, he's supposed to move one spot to his right. So he's got to stop and go back to the corner, yes?
Right. Yes.
All right, so I got a question for you. If his defender does rotate in there and stop me on my draft drive right behind you, I've got a natural pitch to the corner.
For a 3.
Yeah. His defender's going to be wrong either way. If he stays, I'm getting to the rack with no help defense.
Right.
If he helps, we're throwing to the high percentage shot inside out.
Right. You just said the second best shot in basketball in that corner 3. And then literally if I'm playing that position, my hands are like this.
Oh, absolutely.
Throw me the ball. Throw me the ball.
I put that in drills. I mean, that's a great combo drill.
Right.
It's a pass, cut, draft, drive, natural pitch drill.
Okay. So that's number 1.
That's number 1. Now, by the way, every time the ball is passed, there is a chance for the receiver, to draft that cutter. That's why I'm picking that action. Okay? There's a chance. And also, I know that every cutter could be open, but you're talking about passing to them and them catching on the move and scoring. And as you and I know, and every listener knows, those are the weakest skills all the way around in the game of basketball.
Yep.
But most players like trying to get downhill on a drive, get to the basket.
Yep.
They're all practicing that.
And you're getting, and you know what? Okay. And I got a question I got to ask later.
Yeah.
But you know what? And they'll get the foul call. I've noticed that the driver tends to get the foul call too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You just lean in on the person.
Right.
As long as
But the cutter doesn't. That's what we've noticed, that the cutter doesn't they tend to hold and bump and do that to the cutters.
And they let them
doesn't get called.
And that is I wish the whole officiating association could hear that.
Amen. I'm telling you, that's my biggest harp. It's like, why can you hold when he's cutting and I can't run my offense?
Right.
I mean, I literally say I can't run my offense if they're holding my guy cutting to the basket.
See, why can't the offensive player hack those arms off of them?
Right. Yes.
Why not?
That does hinder the read and react when they're not calling that.
It does. No, you're right. Freedom of movement. Well, I think your best counter to that is you've just got to get the players and the ball moving faster. Then they have less chance to step in and get into your body and tag your body. Now, there's other little counters for this, and it's that if they are trying to bump you and get an arm bar on you when you're cutting, use that as a trigger to make your decision.
Okay.
Okay, so, like you say, you pass to me and you cut, right?
Right.
And
I'm arm barring
you. Hey, stop and post them up, and I'll throw it to – because usually when they're up next to you like that trying to body, it's real easy to leg whip, swim move, and post them up, all right?
Okay.
All right. The other one is use that as a signal to go back screen right away. Just forget the cut. Not forget the cut, but forget finishing the cut.
Right.
And go on and screen for whoever. That
so
might
the back
be,
screen will counter that.
Yes. Now, Iowa's women a couple of years ago, I remember watching that. They didn't run it this year, but a couple of years ago, their post player would be on the weak side. All right, they would always start on the weak side. So, so the point passes the wing and cuts. Okay, if she cuts through unhindered, untouched, she would go on and do her thing, back screen on all this. But if any cutter ever cut and they got bumped or they got armbarred, stood up, they took it as a signal to screen for the post and invite the post over. See, the post is on the weak side, right?
Okay, yep.
We even got to calling that an invitation screen. Okay, so you get stood up as a cutter. You get stopped. Oh, darn. Well, don't fight it. Just, hey, okay, I'm going to go invite the post player over.
Okay.
And now you got a cross screen and,
right.
In there.
Okay.
So
so you gave me one. I want another one. That was the first one? Yeah. After the draft.
By the way, and before I leave the draft.
Yep.
See, any dribble at can turn into a draft. So let's go back to our situation. I now have the ball at the top of the key.
Okay.
You are on my right wing, Steve. I dribble at you. You cut. If I turn the corner and draft you, you've taken
your guy.
Yeah. You've taken the first helping defender away from. So a dribble at draft drive.
Okay.
I don't have to wait for the ball to be passed to me.
Right.
I could dribble at any teammate, send them to the goal, and draft them immediately.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Now, hey, look, that takes a little more than you do have to teach a little body language, change of speed, leaning in low with your shoulder, that kind of thing. But if you've got a little bit of deception in you as a player, a little bit of craftiness, every dribble at, it's an opportunity for two people. The person you're dribbling at might be open, and then you could turn the corner.
Okay.
And draft them. Okay, so draft drive. All right, the next one I would say that give you the most is pin screens.
Okay.
Because there's such a wide variety and so few teams do them.
And do them well.
And when they're done well, there's two people that's possibly open, the screener and the person you're throwing to, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So you get that whole, do you slip the screen or after you set the pin screen, the pin screener is rolling to the basket, they get to post up. Whoever catches the skip pass feeds the post.
Screening is a lost art.
Oh, big time. Well,
Don't
let me tell you. Hey, yes. Now, hey, here I can't.
There's your next video right there.
I'm going to give you $1 million. I can't believe I'm giving this away. Okay? I'm going to do it right now.
Okay.
All right, here you go. I want you to get some jerseys or T-shirts made that says "Pin me" on the back of them.
Right.
On the back of them.
Okay.
And your defense has got to wear them.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you're on offense and you can see the words "Pin me," you're the one that should be setting the pin screen.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Now get on a board and play with it, and you're going to see that pin screens are always set by players 2 or more spots away from the ball. It's never the responsibility of a player 1 pass away.
Right.
They're reading the ball and reacting quickly, right? But players that are 2 or more away, they have an angle and they can see if the defenders are helping and sagging.
Right.
And they'll see them from their back. That's why I say.
That's great. There's your Hey, I'll give you my $1 million idea. You know those things we used to wear as kids that you play laser tag with and stuff, and they.
Yeah.
Okay, so spacing is horrible. And read and react is all about spacing. So I think you should do is get some sort of thing you could put on a practice jersey. When you get too close, it flashes. So, so it's about spacing. It's like soccer could use it, basketball could use it. It's all about spacing. And then you could change the distance between the spacings.
I love it.
Because you want to get to the spots,
Right.
in the read. Yeah. And it's like, you're too close. You're too far. You're never in the right spot.
Yeah, Dick Helm used to say, I had him help me with dynamic defense. It was his defense, and he gave it to me and said, "Hey, put some meat on the bones and turn this into a course." And so I did. And in talking to him, you can't talk defense without talking offense, and vice versa, right?
Right.
And he said, "Look, it was just kind of a by the way thing." And he said, "Look, Rick." We were talking about, what's the toughest thing to defend? That's kind of the way the conversation was going.
Yep.
He said, I'm not going to name offenses. I'm just going to say great offenses have three aspects: spacing, player movement, and ball movement.
Yep.
If you can get all three of those, just now.
Okay, so everybody pause right now and rewind that because that's big. Okay. Yes.
Spacing, player movement, ball movement.
Yes.
And he said, now look, an okay offense will have one of those. A good offense will have two of them. Great offenses have all three.
Right.
And so
that's React has that.
Yeah, that's why, Steve, you said the spots are so important. I mean, that's why we actually put physical spots down to train them. It's that important.
Right, yeah. We use like the gym tape kind of thing and put it like this is your – yes. Because I first of all, I'm also think the court's too small for kids now. I think the court needs to get bigger. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, you're watching the NCAA tournament.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Something's got to change.
That and the NBA, you're watching, and it's like, okay, these guys should have a bigger court.
Okay, so I coach Wesley. Wesley's 6'4". He plays for the Mavericks.
Yeah.
He looks tiny. He looks like and he's not tiny. He's like a linebacker when he comes into the gym, and it's like he looks tiny, because those guys are so big. All right, so I'm going to ask you a couple generic questions, and then I think I could go for another hour, but we'll do another one. I promise we'll do another one. All right. If you could go back to yourself as a younger coach, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, my goodness gracious. Okay. That's easy. I don't want to get specifics, okay, like offenses, defenses, and stuff like that. What I would do, absolutely, this is without a shadow of a doubt, is I would get maybe more than one mentor. And when I say mentor, I mean someone that comes, maybe a retired coach. See, I think we're very guilty in the basketball community of getting enamored with youth. When there are coaches that, at the point of their retirement, they've got a lifetime. They've forgotten more basketball than you know at that time. And they're looking to still be involved. They just don't want the grueling schedule and got right.
Yep.
To be able to go to a mentor there and say, look, would you, a retired coach, and say, would you be my mentor? Would you come and watch my games and take notes? Would you, if you can come to a practice and watch my practice?
Can you come scout me? I tell young coaches this all the time. It's like I have people self-scout me. I have them come watch practices. Yeah. I mean, I'm still learning, and I've been doing this for 30 years,
The moment you stop learning in this game, the moment you think you know everything, and there is
Mono's really good at that. PGC Mono's really good about that. Mentoring. He's the best. He's the
best. The whole PGC curriculum is the best. So, hey, if I could go back and there was a PGC around,
right,
I would become a disciple.
Oh yeah.
PGC.
Oh, now, I am. It's a cult. It's a cult. It's a good cult, Mono. I'm kidding, but it's a good one. But
absolutely good.
All right. If you can think of one coaching moment that you could dive into for our audience that they could learn from, is there one moment in your coaching career that we could just dive and kind of dissect?
That you could learn from.
That another coach could learn from. Someone that's listening to this, that's something that happened to you. one of mine was one of my players got hurt. It was a momentous. It was a big game. I learned about communication. I learned about some other things at that point. Any moment in your coaching career.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I got it. Got it. Okay. We started this season with a point guard that got hurt. Okay, got hurt and didn't come back, and I had to go to a 2 guard. This 2 guy, really, he's more of a 3. Okay, he'd never played point, but he was the best ball handler. I knew he was the smartest.
Right.
He's got a pedigree now, and what I'm saying is his brothers were great players. His father, I think, owned the state of Georgia high school scoring record, something like that. It was
okay.
And This is just a great, heck of a pedigree. And so I asked him to be the point guard. Well, we stunk for a little while, and I could tell from his body language, he wasn't happy.
Right.
Okay? And then something happened. Okay, and I think there's 2 things you can learn here. Something happened, and we began to win. We began to do some really good things. The kid's name was Paul Kenny. If Paul's listening, anybody knows Paul Kenny? That's who it was. And I would have a timeout, let's say, and I always like to try to let them out, or I didn't want to use the whole time in a timeout, right? Get your 3 things and then get going, okay?
Yep.
And so tell them 3 things, and they would leave. They'd go far enough out on the floor that I couldn't hear, and they'd hold another huddle, and I could see Paul tugging jerseys. You know what I mean?
Right.
Talking to somebody.
Hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Rick has so many great things to say to all of us. I'm going to try to get him on again to talk about zones and some questions I have about read and run, the read and react with the zone. I'm going to try to get him on the next couple months. Go over, make sure you subscribe and like, please. We love that. If you're looking for some free resources, go over and check us out on Teach Hoops on YouTube. We have thousands of videos over there. If you're looking to take your coaching to the next level, now is the time to get in, teachhoops.com. 14-day free trial. Prices are going to be going up anywhere from 15 to 20% in the next month. As soon as the programmer and I get everything kind of situated, I thought we were ready, but we're probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we got to get everything uploaded. We got to transfer people over. But go over and check it out, teachhoops.com, for coaches who want to get better. Let's get back to the podcast with Rick.
Somebody grab, not mean,
right?
But, just reaching and holding the jersey, saying something. I never knew what he was saying. I didn't know if he was repeating what I was saying, if he was making, okay. But he started holding these little miniature, us 5 no more, coaches not in here, team not in here, us. Right. And I noticed that started happening. When that started happening, we started winning. Good things started happening, right?
Right.
Okay. So I think I was smart enough to leave it alone. That's what I think. I really do. I'm proud of myself for shutting up.
Yep.
And also from that point on, I started getting even shorter in my timeouts. I wanted to give Paul as much time as he could. And this idea of I don't need to be the one saying everything, leading everything. I need to be building this. I want to duplicate what Paul's doing next year and the year after and year. Now, how do I do that? I don't have drills for that. No one's ever taught me that.
Right.
I got to learn how to, and this is leadership. This is communication. This is right.
Right.
Now, another lesson that goes with that, okay, was this. At the end of the season, I saw his dad. His dad was one of those good parents, okay?
Right.
Because ordinarily I don't talk to parents, okay? Unless it's about their academics or something
like Bobby Knight said, best coaching jobs in an orphanage. So,
See, that's why I think many coaches want to get to the colleges. They use the 500-mile recruiting rule.
Right, yes.
They recruit them away from their parents,
Yeah.
But anyway. So I talked to his dad, and I said, what happened there? I took him back to that time when that started. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, the kids were coming over to my house, and they were doing all the crying and complaining. And, and bad mouthing and all this. And he said, and of course they're going to blame coach, well, coach doesn't like me, coach doesn't do this, coach that, right?
Yeah.
And he said, I finally had enough. And he said, when the kids were gone, I pulled Paul aside. And I said, let's just go through every point that was being made here. And let's talk about how much the coach has control of these things. And he did. And then he said, Paul, the one's not your position, but it's time to lead. Forget position. We need a leader. We need someone who knows how to win. We need it, right?
Right.
And he's the one. He's the one that got Paul to start doing that, right? Now, I learned another valuable lesson. If you can find that jewel of a parent
right,
that can work with your team, and by the way, he met with the team. He had, because they went over to his house
right,
between school and practice, and so he would have a chance to, drop a few gems in there,
right,
and talk. And they respected him because they knew what kind of.
And they knew what he's talking about. I did something several years ago too. It was not this year, but the previous year. I don't go into the huddle right away. I talk to my coaches before I go to the huddle. 2 years ago, I pulled my point guard and said, "You're going to be part of this group." That's how much I respect. And it was like it was like this because it was like because he felt part of the system. And it's like, I'm to the point where I ask them opinions in timeouts. I like, what do you want to run?
Well, in the read and react,
right.
I hate to keep going back to read and react, but you know how easy that is.
Right. Yeah.
That should be happening almost organically.
Yes, it should be. Yeah.
Because they're making the moment by moment decisions out there. You're just kind of guiding the big stuff.
Yes.
What
would you tell a young coach if they wanted to get into coaching?
I would tell them, well, first of all, the mentor thing.
Yep.
Second of all, I would be very careful about just taking a job for taking a job. Now, sometimes you do, but I understand that. But you need to hitch your wagon to someone that you can learn from.
Right.
Now, that was a mistake I made. I came out of college and lucked up, took the highest classification in Tennessee, size school.
Wow.
And I took a head job.
Right out of college? Wow. Yeah.
Right out of college. And you know what I'm thinking? I'm 23. What do you think
you're going to win a state title? Is what
absolutely. Well, of course. They know.
I know more than everybody.
Someone who appreciates my knowledge of the game. They know I don't need an assist. You're young at that time. Like, I know how to play. I must know how to coach. And just got my head handed to me. Holy cow. Yeah. So I started trying to surround my assistants were coaches that were back in those days. They were coaches that had been former head coaches, getting close to retirement. That's who I was surrounding myself with.
Your circle is really important. I tell people your circle, and you can see, be a student of the game. These are basketball books or not basketball books, but there's John Gordon books. There's all sorts of good books back here.
Well, that'd be the second thing. You just stole it from me. Is that I coached. Well, it wasn't until about 1988 that I, when I moved to Atlanta, I decided that, something, Rick, you've been trying it your way based on experience and your playing days and all that kind of stuff. And let's face it, I'm basically doing most of the stuff that my high school or college coaches did.
Right. That's what you do. Yeah.
That's what you do, right? Oh, gosh.
My high school coach ran the flex. Guess what my first offense was?
You're saying I should expect different results just because it's me doing it?
Right.
Come on. Right? So when I moved to Atlanta, I made a pact with myself that I was going to pretend that I knew nothing about the game and ask myself this question. If you did know nothing about the game, what would you do? And you're about to coach. What would you do? Well, you would take a look. First of all, figure out who the best teachers of the game are, and become absolute disciples of them.
Yes.
Just absolute. So at that point, for me, it was convenient to go to David Lipscomb in Nashville. Don Meyer.
Oh, you don't have to tell me about Don Meyer. Oh my God. I
yeah.
still find you'll laugh at this. The people are listening, but I still find, like, he used to hand out all those things in different colors.
I've got notebooks. You want to go bring my notebooks?
I swear to God. I know. And I still find them. I find them at school. It's like, oh, there's one of Don. I mean, there's a guy that changed the game too.
Oh, didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't he? And so I went he had a clinic that you had to pay for in the spring, and then he had a free one in the fall. I went to 22 clinics in a row before I missed one.
That's crazy.
11 straight years I didn't miss with him. And it's not that I was poly-parroting him, because I couldn't.
Right.
I mean, he would recruit, you had to be able to shoot a three.
Right.
Or you had to have all-American potential in the post.
Right.
That's about it. That's about it.
And the thing is, I think that's a good point you just made there is, and this is an educational thing. You want to take all this knowledge and put it in, and then you have to pick what's going to fit you. Oh, yeah. And I've told this story. I was under 7 head coaches before I got my first job. Yeah. And because I've been successful because of those 7 people, because I took a little piece of each one of them and I said, ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that. And then, because there's no other, Jay Wright. There's one Jay Wright. There's one Bobby Knight. There's one Coach K. So you have to be your own person.
Boy, that's good. That's a Don Meyerism right there. Yeah. Be who you are. You can't be anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would advise young coaches or anybody coming into the game that just get used to the thought that no one's going to love it as much as you do. No one's going to be as dedicated to it as you do. You're going to run across a gym here and there, but like if you're in high school or youth, you are a small part, time-wise, of these kids' days and everything that they got going on, okay? And now, I think you are more impactful than anybody else in their entire day.
Well, and a point that I make to all the young coaches, I've said this 1,000 times, I'll say this 1,000. I do not want to be a kid's last coach.
Right. Oh, that's excellent.
I don't want to be especially if I'm a youth coach, I don't want to be their last basketball coach, because if I'm their last basketball coach, it means they stopped. Right. I don't want to be the last coach. I want to be part of that journey along the line for them.
Right. Well, now, see, I'm going to turn this back on the Read and React, but you know what? I mean, this is the things you're the things you're covering right now were motivating factors in creating the Read and React, because I coached negatively many years.
Bobby Knight, baby. It's a Bobby Knight era.
I mean, look, you can get results from negative reinforcement. You just can't build long-term relationships with that. You just can't.
No.
And you cannot recruit the energy and creativity from players that way. It just making it miserable,
Right.
And so, when you were talking about helping them with their decisions, see, again, I wanted to sell Read and React, let's take something like passing.
Right.
Okay. I didn't want to, all my coaching life, it was, I need you to pass and share the ball to be a good teammate. Come on, right?
Right. Yeah.
And in the Read and React, and of course you're fighting when I say that, you're having to fight at the same time. You want a player to be aggressive, take what the defense gives, and yet you want them to share the ball. Do you hear the contradiction in my voice? I mean, what?
Right.
You hear this contradiction in this message?
Right.
How does a kid decide, should I run the play or should I, no one's between me and the goal. Should I take it and go? I mean, right? If I turn it over, coach is going to, yank me for not running the play. There's problems there. I wanted to be able to say, look, I want you to pass because a couple of things. I only want you to pass if you can't beat this guy. And if you can't beat the guy, we're going to give you a chance at scoring the moment you pass. You're going to be our first option.
Right.
I think that's a lot more positive and will recruit his energy than to say, just be a good teammate and share the ball. I know what share the ball means. It means you don't want me to shoot and you want Joe over here to shoot.
Right.
You know? Well, I didn't want to do that. Well, now, if that's not good enough, then I want to tell them, look, you are much better. I am going to show you how to get your shot without the ball.
Right.
So when you hit the lane, I want you – and here we go with everything else in the read and react.
And do you work on showing on how to show on the cuts? Do you teach them, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, just like you would a post player. Think about this. Don't you tell players in the post, look, show the ball your numbers, right?
Yeah.
Hands up, out, elbows out, show them your numbers, and you tell the passer, don't throw it to them if you don't see that, right? If you don't see their hands being an eager – hey, point guard college, being an eager receiver, right?
Right. Yeah, yep. Happy hands. Yep.
Happy hands. Well, same way on your cuts. I'm not going to throw it to someone who's not showing me their numbers. They're eager receiver, peppy hands.
Right.
But I told you a moment ago I wanted to make a point about the cutting, okay?
Okay.
Just want you to think about this. I want to do a whole new course on how to teach the read and react from this standpoint. I want to ask you something. You're fresh off of the tournament, the NCAA tournament, right?
Right.
You saw all kinds of great set plays, okay? So, all right, so those teams that run them, right? So let me draw a picture in your mind. There's just been transition, and they didn't score. The offense didn't score. Now the balls come back into the point guard, the playmaker's hands, right? Okay, now the other four players, they've got to get open, right?
Right. Yep.
So where do they go?
They stay wide.
Huh?
They go to the spots. They stay wide for the most part in the NCAA.
Yeah. Now, okay, but if they're going to get open on a screen,
right?
Okay, where are they going to go? Okay, if you're going to get open by yourself or something like, or if that ball handler is going to say take a ball screen, they're all going to spread out.
Right.
If he's not going to take a ball screen, they all go down towards the lane,
right? And
they start setting screens or for someone to run off of a screen to come out.
Yep.
You can see almost every NBA set.
Yeah, all that's like screen. Yeah.
They go there first so they can break out to get open.
Right.
If they're going to come off of screens.
Yep.
If you're not going to do the ball screen thing.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
The high ball screen thing. High ball screen thing, you're exactly right. They're all going to go out on the perimeter.
Right.
If not, if you're going to get a down screen, if you're going to come off of a double, so everybody starts going to the lane. So one of the reasons that you always cut after you pass in the read and react is I need to get you in the lane so that you can get open
right
for the next action.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
You'd be, if we were calling a step play, you'd probably be going down there anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? So you cut down there. Now you can either get open on your own. That's called filling out for us, right?
Yep.
Or you could screen for a perimeter player, or you could use a screen if someone's in the lane, a post player or another cutter, or you could set them a screen and then, work to get open off of it. Or you do, if there's a post and another cutter, there's a double staggered for you to get open. What I'm saying is, Steve, I could teach the entire read and react, every layer, every action, from a standpoint of you're in the lane, you got to get open.
When you're in the lane.
When you're in the lane and you don't have the ball, you now got to get open. Don't you want to get open? Don't you want the ball to go one-on-one?
Right. And then how long do you let them stay in the lane?
That depends on them.
Okay.
That depends.
Because my guys tend to stay too long. Like we have a 3-second rule.
Well, now, okay. So now we're talking about purpose of your cut. Now that's why I want to talk about if you're trying to get open to get the ball again on the perimeter, you're not going to spend time wandering around down in the lane.
Right.
They'll throw the ball to somebody else.
Right.
Get your feet wet and then get out of there with purpose to an open spot with eager receiver hands. And, is it off of the screen or are you going to go screen to get yourself open? And it just it will tell you what your next action should be.
Right.
Use it.
Okay. Perfect.
Well, anyway.
All right. I got tons more. All right. So now we're going to end with my rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you a question. You get one answer.
Oh, I'm horrible at this. Okay.
Okay. You get one answer. All right. Ready?
Yep.
One word to describe your ideal player.
Oh, God. I am horrible at this. Teachable.
Ooh, I like that. All right. What's your favorite basketball? And what I mean by is like Spalding, Rock, that kind of stuff.
Oh, see, I've forgotten what they call this. The soft touch with the high ridges. Who makes that?
Oh, that's not Wilson, is it?
No. High ridges.
It's not is it the Rock?
I want to say that, yeah.
Okay, the Rock. Kids like the Rock a lot. All right, if you could go to one sporting event in the entire world, what would it be?
Oh, gosh, man. One sporting event?
Yep.
Well, it's just, for me, it's got to – well, all right. It's got to be the NCAA finals.
Okay. I've been.
Then my second's got to be, say – maybe every other basketball final, NBA, WNBA,
maybe.
Women's, and if it's outside of basketball, the UFC.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm a huge,
that's cool. All right, what's your favorite pregame meal?
Very little.
Oh, that's good. Brendan said free. That was pretty funny. That was the funniest. That was the funnious one we've had.
I'm better on a almost an empty stomach.
I tell the players, I said, and there's been studies on this. You're better to be a little hungry than to be full when you play.
I need as much blood supply going in my brain. I don't need it down there digesting.
All right, one thing you do to relax.
The one thing I do to relax is, wow. See, I was going to say some form of a workout.
Okay,
it helps me to relax.
Okay, best player you've seen in person.
Best player I've seen in person. Oh, remember I told you I went to. We got Mike Bibby for my first DVD.
Yep.
We went out to video him, and I got to see LeBron James' first NBA game, Sacramento Kings.
No.
Yep. I think that was his – I know that was his first year. I thought that was his first game, but I'm not sure. But, yeah, I got to see him. I'm there on the court.
I haven't seen him in person. All right, best player of all time.
Yeah. Holy, man. And I can only say one?
Mm-hmm. That was a lot harder for Coach Sir than it was for you because he saw a lot of really good players.
Oh, yeah. All right, I'm going to cheat on this. I'm going to go ahead and say it's Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Michael's winning by about 95%. You feel good about that, Michael. Yeah.
Of the time, but I have to throw out some people. I mean, you got to talk about people like Pete Maravich or Rick Barry or
my high school coach said Bob Cousy.
Right. Well, Rick Barry, Rick, you think about Rick Barry, 30, the only guy to lead the NCAA, ABA, and NBA in scoring.
I know.
And most of the, not the ABA, but the others was without a three-point line. So you're talking about 36, 37 points a game.
I know. It's crazy. And then I don't even know if the players know that the NBA logo is him, right?
Is it him?
It's him. I think it's him.
Is it him or Jerry West? I don't know.
Oh, it might be Jerry West. Is it Jerry West? It was one of the two. I knew it was one of the two.
Hey, but let me say one more. Back when you said best player that I've seen. Yeah. Well, look, I got to be on the floor. I mean, within touching distance and playing with him in a camp, Dave Bing.
No.
You remember Dave Bing?
I do.
Yeah, Dave Bing.
I was telling Brendan I saw when I was at we were talking about how it used to be with 5-star and blue chip, those two camps.
Yeah.
That when I went to blue chip, I got to see Akeem Olajuwon play Larry Bird 1-on-1.
Oh my gosh!
I know.
Oh.
If it was nowadays, we'd all had our phones out and stuff. What's one thing that helped you become a better coach? One thing that helped you become a better coach?
One thing to help.
One thing that's made you a better coach or helped you become a better coach.
My time in, no, I can't say that. It has to be. It has to be that I've been following Jesus Christ for a long time, since 1979.
Okay.
And the idea of a servant leadership, a servant leader being the best type of leader has kind of kept my head on straight.
Yep.
That kind of thing.
It's giving you a guide. Yep.
Yes.
Best game you've seen in person.
Best game I seen in person.
It can be any level. We've had anywhere from a high school game to an NBA final.
The best one that I saw in person was 1977, 76, 77, I think, 75, 76. And it was Western Kentucky University, Western Kentucky Hilltoppers against Middle Tennessee State University for the OVC. I don't know if it was for their championship now. It was I'm pretty sure it was at Western.
Okay.
And it was just I was close to the floor, and the thing is,
it was just one of those things.
It was just one of those great games, yeah.
Okay. One word that describes your coaching style.
Passionate.
Okay. Top bench player of all time.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like I really feel like I'm pulling teeth, Coach. I'm sorry.
You are pulling teeth. I told you, I am the world's worst at the best bench player of all. Oh, hey, how about the kid from
Villanova?
Villanova. Yeah, what's his name? It's
yeah. Okay, we'll go with that. Well, best coach
points?
of all time.
30 points in the finals?
I
Come
know.
on.
Crazy. Hey, but there's a prime example, especially for the young coaches out there. They dug up his tweets from when he was 13 or 14. He's been taking heat for that. Can you believe that?
Get out of town.
No, yeah. You go on USA Today. There's a big article about it today. Yeah. There's some, he was 13. He's making some bad decisions, saying some things he shouldn't say. And, oh, yeah, they're digging it up. It's out there forever. All right, best coach of all time.
Best coach of all time. Don Meyer.
He'd be on my list. One book you would recommend. See how hard that would be for me.
Yeah, I know. And the only reason I say him over John Wooden is I knew more about him. That's all. Go ahead. What?
Yeah. One book you'd recommend.
For
anything.
For
it can be any book. I mean, that you would recommend someone read. It's been everything. We've had everything.
Okay. Well, I've already
more for a coach. More for a coach. What was the one that Brendan gave? He was like some sort of leadership one. I don't even remember.
Yeah, that was a very good one. But the one and gosh, I can't even remember the name of it. It's over here. It's by John Wooden, Little Blue Jacket. I keep coming back to it and reading it over and over again.
Oh, I know what the one you're talking about. I'll find it. I'll find it and put it in the show notes. Yeah. I'll find it. Then what was my last one? Oh, one thing you would tell a young coach in parting As we kind of end here.
As we kind of end.
Some advice.
Teach.
Yeah.
Let that be the tagline, under your name. Let that be what the kids say about you when it's all said and done, that this was one of the best, if not the best teacher that I've been under. And that will cover, that's a big umbrella. Notice I didn't say teacher of the game.
Right.
Because basketball is life in 4 quarters, and the chances to impact and teach life lessons and how to respond and just about everything that you're going to come across later in life. Don't miss that opportunity to teach. Basketball is just kind of a tool.
It is. Okay, so let's, on a parting note, I want to talk about Better Basketball and where people can find it and the all access. Now, I'm getting, this is like PGC for me. I am a disciple. I love Better Basketball. I love Read and React. So there's no financial aspect to this, but I'm going to give Coach some time to talk about what's available and what I've been able to do over, the last probably 5-10 years for me. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, you finally given me a question that I can answer without sound like you're pulling my fingernails out. I'm the world's worst at in fact, you notice I think I sent you an email that said, look, just don't start asking me about the draft and about this and about
right,
because I don't keep up with it. In fact, when I watch games, I wind up watching the what offenses, defenses, movement, spacing kind of thing, and I don't.
Yeah. I know people ask why I don't watch as much. I don't watch as much NCAA because the only way I can watch it is if I'm just kind of doing something else. Because otherwise, I'm looking and I'm jotting stuff down. It's like the enjoyment is like I can't do that.
Right.
But yeah, go tell the people about all access and all that. That's a great deal for people. I think
it is. Yeah. So we at betterbasketball.com. If you go to betterbasketball.com, you'll see the homepage is pretty easy to follow. You're going to see things like the vault. That's just where we hold all the videos I've done in the last 16 years. And you're going to see all access. There's a chance for you to kind of explore around. But let me give you the bottom line here. I got about 1,500 videos. I think it's I don't know how many hours that is. I've forgotten now. But like I say, I've been doing this now since 2001.
So you said, and the thing you sent me, it said 1,500 videos totaling 140 hours of instruction of coaches and players.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. It is. It's not just now. Yes, the Read and React has become the locomotive, the engine that pulls the train.
Right.
Okay. I've got quite a bit of stuff there on player development. There's a lot that I'm going to go back and redo and attack and that kind of thing. But you were talking about all access.
Right.
A few years ago, we noticed, when you get a certain amount of videos on there, a new coach comes on, let's say they buy the Read and React, okay? Well, I'm also wanting him or her to watch the practice videos,
right.
And the one-day practice, and then, developing the Read and React player. That's a player development one, and I'd also like them to watch this and that. And it's like, gee whiz, I got to make this easy and financially easy.
Right. Yep.
And so we came up with an all-access pass, which is $249 a year.
Right.
And for that, you get to watch everything that's in there, and I don't think people take this into consideration, and anything new that comes out.
Right.
It's just automatically in the library. You'll get notified that something new's coming. I just put 64 3-player drills in there.
Okay.
In the vault,
which is the best way to teach the game for anybody that's listening. It should until they're like 10, they should all be playing 3-on-3. But go ahead. Yeah.
And I'll be adding another 50 drills here, hopefully by June or something like that. So pretty soon there's going to be about 114 brand new drills in there. But if you're an all-access member, you're just going to get an email saying, hey, here's what's new in here. Make sure you don't overlook it.
Right.
And
it's Netflix. You're giving them Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, it is. And, it's if you were to buy 2 courses, say the Read and React and something that you've already spent more.
Right.
You would have spent in all access.
Yeah. So it's a better deal. Well,
yeah.
I really 2 things, Coach. First of all, thank you so much. I hope to do this again at some point. And you have won the record for the longest. This is going to have to be 2 podcasts. You have won the record. I think you and I could have talked forever.
Well, we could. I enjoy it.
I did. You're
really good at this, and I'm not, as you can tell.
Oh, you're awesome at this. Are you kidding? You're great. And it's truthful. Read and React has been awesome for our program and helped in our success. And you've really made a difference in the game. So we really appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Thanks. If I can help coaches, that's all. That's everyone defines what success is, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm only successful if you are. So.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Rick has so many golden nuggets. If you're liking these podcasts, please go over and subscribe and like. We would appreciate that. It really helps us in iTunes if you do that. If you're thinking, like I said before, if you're thinking of joining, if you're listening to this in 2022, it's going to be too late. Prices have already gone up. But if you're listening to this in October of 2018, go over and check out teachhoops.com before prices increase. So have a great October. I hope you're not having, I have not been outside raking leaves yet, but it's coming. So hey, everybody, hope you enjoyed that. If you want to support us, you want to help us keep the lights on here at teachhoops.com, go over, join, 14-day free trial, and then stop the car, subscribe, like, Apple 5-star review. That would be good. All right, maybe. Have a good day. Bye.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Stop by Sherwin-Williams and get 30% off select paints and stains May 2nd through the 12th. It's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Refresh your home inside and out with colors that make every space feel brand new. From cozy interiors to stunning exteriors, we've got the perfect shade for your next project. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.